The best thing about Nether Edge is
It's like a little village within the city.
It's been renamed.
Yeah.
Nether Edge Village.
definitely a village.
It's famous for its trees, I'd say.
We love the trees.
I love the trees.
You were part of the campaign, weren't you?
I campaigned to save the trees in Nether Edge.
3 trees for every person in Sheffield.
More trees than any other city in the country.
Greenest city in Europe.
I love the trees.
Nether Edge is famous for being called the Lentil Belt.
Little individual independent shops.
Bohemian.
Cafes. Cole's Corner.
Cafe number 9.
Cafe number 9.
Cafe number 9.
Lovely little area.
No one sort of judges you in Nether Edge. Sort of friendly, open.
Get more respect as a cyclist.
Yeah, it's nice.
Mark Steele's in town.
Thank you so much. Welcome to Mark Steele's in Town, which comes from Nether Edge, a suburb of Sheffield, distinct from the rest of the city in so many ways, especially its accent, which is quite tricky. I think I've learnt it. I'll give it a go. The value of the property has literally doubled over the last 10 years. Nearly there. I'll be all right, by the way. Don't think all his voice is all gone. He's going to die during the show. I'm fine. There is a wonderful set of values here in Nether Edge. Somebody told me the first rule for an easy life in Nether Edge, someone honestly told me this, is don't ever ask for white sugar in Cafe 9. Someone else explained to me when I first came here, there are 2 parts to Nether Edge. They said a hummus belt and a lentil belt. You all know Cafe 9? A wonderful little hub of the community. The first time that somebody took me in there, they just knew everybody. It's like a little house, and you all live there. Oh, this is Marjorie. She designs ethical egg cups. This is Amaretto and his son Ocelot. They do a wonderful puppet version of Schindler's List. And this is Tagliatelle. He makes wind chimes from rabbit droppings. And there is, of course, a famous farmers' market here that overflows with the spirit of community. For example, one man told me that on the day of the market, they were standing with a friend on Glen Road, and someone came out of their house and said, I'm fed up with people at this market sitting on my wall, and so they covered it in honey. And I bet it was Manuka honey. That cost £30 a jar, so it would have been cheaper to hire Salman Rushdie's personal security guard. But you're popular now, Nether Edge. The Sheffield Tribune proudly said a week ago the Sunday Times named the Sheffield suburb of Nether Edge as one of the 10 best places to live in England. What a triumph! And to confirm the friendly spirit of Sheffield, the article went on, admittedly, the list is somewhat confusing because Leeds also features. The Sunday Times article also refers to you as a place where all the baristas know your name. Oh, I can't imagine living in a grubby place where the baristas don't know your name. Can you imagine such hardship? It reminds me of when Dickens wrote, Oliver sat under the bridge, his shoes flapping as the last stitching broke free, his stomach blaring like the bellowing ship's funnels ahead of him. Can I have some more flat white? Certainly, what's your name? And Oliver realised to his horror that the barista did not know what it was. I think it's fair to say that Nether Edge is different from the rest of the city. You hear people in other parts of Sheffield go, Nether Edge ain't real Sheffield. Real Sheffield is farting outside Penny Black at 1 in the morning. Claiming you knew Arctic monkeys when they were 6 and you were one of the lads that got arrested in riot van feeling stupid by Cathedral when you realise the bell clung and his tram hurtling towards you and you want to make it across. That's real Sheffield, not farmers, market baristas know your name. Who, guess who's in the Sunday Times Nether Bloody Edge? And you aren't like the rest of Sheffield. If the full Monty was made here, it would have to be about a group of blokes made redundant from an artisan bakery. So they all got work posing naked for an art installation representing the trees of Chelsea Road. But you're so close to the centre of Sheffield. It's amazing. You're about 1.5 miles from the main station, around where Abbeydale Road becomes London Road. Suddenly you realise you've gone through a portal into another world. And I think it's fair to say that you do like a tree in Nether Edge. The first thing someone said to me when I got here was, our mate Benoit, the French magician, got arrested for reading a poem in the tree. And I'm not sure you hear that very often in the rest of Sheffield. There's no song on the first Arctic Monkeys album that goes, watching you at the Onyx while I'm waiting at the bar. I asked where you were up a tree with a pack of cards and some poetry. You replied, je ne sais pas. You love trees in Nether Edge. I cannot imagine what would happen if anybody came here with the intent of damaging a tree. Now, lots of people in this city have said over the years that Sheffield has more trees per population than any area in Europe, and I confess I find this hard to believe. More than the Black Forest, that has 50 billion trees and one wizard who lives there. Yeah, but there's 4 trees in Attercliffe. And another 2 round Bucker Park Hill Flats. You like making claims round here that make no sense and can't be proved. A few people have told me Nether Edge has more climbers than any other postcode in the world. How do you know that? What, more than the postcode of the bit of Nepal where by the age of 6 everyone's been up Everest? The Edge newsletter told us about an important event that happened here when a choir performed in the street. We led the chant on trees to celebrate the limes on Montgomery Road. We wanted to share our love of the trees, including the humming of the wasps and the bees. We have co-written and performed several 4-part chants, including a knitting chant. Don't just sit there like that's acceptable. You used to make knives and forks. You used to do things that were useful. You do have a reputation, especially amongst people who live here. One resident sent me personally a message that went, Nether Edge is full of deedars who aspire to being posh but can't afford door or top lid. Another one went, it's full of trees, woke people, men with buns and old socialists. And the Sheffield Folk Guide tells us, if you chat to people in a cafe, you'll realise 1 in 4 people in Nether Edge is a professional folk musician. It's not all posh here. You've got the weirdest collection of shops. I don't know, you're used to them, but when you come as an outsider, there's a place that looks like a garage that has a gold taxi on the roof. Opposite that, there's a rum keg, because nothing makes you think of a Caribbean beach more than the Abbeydale Road into Sheffield city centre. Then there's Zed's, popular shop there, obviously, that has items such as, this is true, has a little sign above the toilet roll that says, cheeky loose panda bamboo vegan toilet roll. Would you want to wipe it with anything else? And you've even got Roger, the bee man, who makes your own Nether Edge honey with his own bees in the middle of Sheffield. Oh, we're very socially conscious. All our honey on the wall to stop people sitting on it is locally sourced. Something you often hear is the centre of culture in Nether Edge is the Bowls Club. And there are snooker tables there as well. So players have come here for practice before the World Championships at the Crucible. Jimmy White used to come to the Bowls Club. One day he came here with Ronnie Wood. So Nether Edge is wilder than it seems with its rock and roll Bowls Club. But the book Nether Edge People and Places tells us about that day. Our steward, Richard Taylor, banned Ronnie Wood for inappropriate behaviour. He didn't know who he was, but was proud when he found out he'd thrown out a member of the Rolling Stones. Well, I want to know, does anyone know what Ronnie Wood did to get thrown out of the Bowls Club? There were the drugs, we didn't mind that, but then he was found in possession of honey that weren't from Roger the Beamer. According to the book Aspects of Nether Edge, the Bowls Club once had a sign up that said, "Rifle practice will no longer be permitted on the premises." So I was fascinated by this report of one match in the Sheffield Tribune from that time. In a match against Broom Hall, the teams were tied at 5 points each after the fourth end, but Nether Edge's Brian Whittaker stepped up to break the deadlock by blasting their captain through the face with a sawn-off shotgun. So I would like to introduce Jerry at this point. Have we got Jerry? Hello, Jerry. You live right opposite the Bowls Club.
Yeah, backs onto our back garden, yeah.
Does it all kick off? Is it mayhem?
It does, actually, yeah.
So, also, Jerry, more importantly, in Sheffield, if anyone wants someone to be the voice of Sheffield, you're the man.
I'm cheap Sean Bean.
He's cheap you. The most impressive part of your oeuvre is that you're on the trams.
The voice of the Blue Line, yeah.
Does everybody know that Jerry's on the tram?
What a claim to fame.
I think that's cool. Do you ever worry that people might recognise you?
Well, I had to go to Hillsborough to pick my car up once and I had to go on the tram. I daren't really open my mouth because, the stops were coming up the cathedral. Hold on tight, please, and all that kind of thing. So I daren't ask for a ticket. So I had to put a stupid voice on so the conductor wouldn't recognise my voice. So I spent the whole journey. It was sort of a... I said, can I have a ticket to Bamford Road, please?
Can you just give us one line that might be in the tram?
The next stop, by request, is Cathedral. Oh. Let her get off first.
This is the sort of thing that leads to the issue that dominates Nether Edge social and political life, though. Should you be reclassified as a village? The Nether Edge Neighbourhood Group have produced documents declaring you're a village. The Sunday Times thinks you're a village. Yorkshire Live says, with its leafy green trees, independently run businesses, stunning parks and sense of community, it is easy to get lost in the village of Nether Edge. You know that around Britain there are dozens of towns that have campaigned for years to be given city status. They spend millions on brochures and lobbying government departments, and you are a city and you want to become a bloody village. If you're going to become a village, you've got to do it properly. You've got to start voting for Nigel Farage. Having vicars that disappear after an incident that no one ever refers to. You can't be a village. You're run by the council of one of Britain's biggest cities. You can't just call yourself a village because you've got a farmer's market where it's £9 for a carrot. I am all for modern attitudes. I'm fully on board with it. But you can't go, we were a major city, but now we identify as a village. There's a myth to the village image because half of Nether Edge is like this, but there's a normal bit as well, where you get to Sharrow and there are housing estates that are much more like you'd expect in a city, but it's still lovely because all the bailiffs know your name. Someone said to me they realised what a mixed area it was because, I promise it's the exact words they said, I realised it was a very mixed area because I found a gun while I was litter picking. And that does sort of sum it up. There was a Facebook group set up in the area for when someone heard a bang that was called Gunshot or Fireworks. On the Sheffield Forum, someone asks, what are the areas to avoid in Nether Edge? And someone replied, avoid Rundle Road and Kenwood Road like the plague on Halloween. Egg throwing from louts behind privet hedges can ruin your suit. But were they free-range quail's eggs? But Right, you started out Nether Edge as a hugely important part of Sheffield. Because of all the iron across the city, forges were made by monks going right back to the 12th century, and then cutlery makers were licensed here in the 1600s until Benjamin Huntsman, the Quaker, made harder crucible steel that could withstand much higher temperatures. So by the 1700s, Sheffield was known for its steel. Then in Victorian times, dozens of huge steel plants were built and Sheffield became a stinking mess. And a Scottish writer, William McCritchie, said, "Sheffield is a dirty, monotonous town surrounded by the finest romantic dales and gentlemen's estates." Then a woman called Lady Caroline Stewart Wortley, on her way to her estate north of Sheffield, wrote, "I was never in so savage, stinking and dirty a place as Sheffield." And an article in the Sheffield Tribune said, "Lady Caroline's comments were confusing as she'd never been to Leeds." But the steel manufacturers, they didn't want to live in the stinking, dirty place that they'd made stinking and dirty, so they had huge houses built on the edge of the city in Nether Edge. Cutlery manufacturer George Wolstenholme had an estate built here in 1835 called Kenwood, and Brincliffe House was built for steel owners. It's like living with someone who keeps making scrambled egg that burns and sticks to the pan, and it all piles up in the sink, and then they go, "I can't live here with all this mess," and they move out, leaving it for you to wash up. Sheffield was the most revolutionary city in Britain back then. The radical book Right to Man, in support of the French Revolution, was read by so many people that a government spy reported, "In Sheffield, every cutler owns a copy." And then the government built a barracks in Shale Moor because they believed Sheffield was going to start the revolution. And the main demand of these movements was, "We call upon the Parliament to issue a law with immediate effect that every barrister does know our name." But in 1815, the most worrying area of all for the government was Nether Edge. Prime Minister Castlereagh is said to have declared even their bowls club does engage in rifle practice. And they didn't ignore the poor in Nether Edge. They very kindly built a workhouse for them. And that way the poor could be kept here without the middle classes having to look at them. And the workhouse has now been converted into flats. See, the handy thing about that is as the rents go up, if everyone living in those flats goes bankrupt, it'll be easy to just convert it back into a workhouse. So Nether Edge was part of Sheffield, but also apart from Sheffield, much like now. But there is one other issue that dominates your history: trees. I've never come across a place as obsessed with trees. So what was Sheffield Council thinking? What a terrible decision they made to go to war with your trees. Because in 2012, the council signed a contract with a company called Amy to maintain the city's trees for 25 years. But as part of that arrangement, it was agreed that Amy would cut down half of those trees. Now, in most cities, that wouldn't be all that many trees. But in Sheffield, where there are more trees per person than in the forests of Siberia, that was a genocide of trees. Amy's plan was to remove 18,000 trees. Now, one of the clauses in the contract was that all the curbs should be straight. They wanted to cut down trees because the curbs weren't straight. That isn't a policy, that's a mental illness. If someone goes, "The curb's not perpendicular, it's not perpendicular, I can't stand it, it's making, I'm going to be sick, the curb has to be, the curb has to be straight, it has to be flush with the roots. You take them to see someone, you don't give them a chainsaw." So in 2013, in parts of Sheffield, people came home to suddenly discover that trees had been sawn down. And when they were asked, the council replied, "Trees are only being felled as a last resort." What were these trees doing that was a last resort? Was the council going, "There's nothing we can do. They've been having parties all night. They can't keep their branches under control." And then in 2016, a mass felling programme started. Amy came to Nether Edge, but campaigners stopped them by getting in the way of the lumberjacks. And so the council said that they were only cutting down trees if they were one of the 5 Ds. This was their slogan. The 5 Ds, the trees were either dead, dying, diseased, dangerous, or discriminatory. See, that's them being clever. The council was appealing to your Nether Edge liberal sensibility. They were going, some of these elms are homophobic, you know. Were they dead or dying or diseased, these trees? Can I ask, is that Alison here? Yeah. Alison, how did a campaign start then?
I first heard about it from a neighbour. They said they're coming to fell our trees and we're not happy about it. And we thought, yeah, we're not happy either because they were lovely blossom trees. And so a bunch of us were there and we formed a line and we wouldn't let the arborists onto the road.
Did they come in the night? Did they start coming in the night to catch you out?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, it was really shocking. They removed lots of their branches by hand. We're using handsaws so that they were quiet. And so we discovered like massive piles of branches and what have you.
You have to have like lookouts all night.
Yeah, we started having 24-hour patrols. Yeah, basically. Yeah, it was really something. Yeah.
What about Spitfires flying? It's very important in a war like this to control the airspace.
We would have deployed drones if we had those in that time.
Jesus Christ. We did start buying arms. Then the arrests started under laws that were introduced to dealing with flying pickets during the miners' strike.
Yeah, that's right. And they weren't always very friendly. You know, I had a man leaning on the barrier that I was behind, you know, basically trying to squash me. They got really frustrated by us preventing them getting on with the work. We tied yellow ribbons around the trees to indicate which trees were under threat so that residents would get an idea of just what it was going to
look like.
You know,
when they wrote that song, they can't have imagined that they would be inspiring a revolutionary arboreal movement. And then you worked out a strategy. What were squirrels and bunnies?
So squirrels went up a tree. So that happened a few times because we have so many climbers in Sheffield, as you know. And so... And so that was that, and bunnies were people that actually vaulted over the barriers and usually masked up so they weren't identifiable because we had an injunction by then, and so you had to hide your identity.
You know this, I know because you're all used to this. It does sound astonishing. People in masks. So for more than a year, Nether Edge was a battleground, like the trenches of the First World War. I can imagine some of you must have been sat up the tree looking at the barbed wire going, they said this would all be over by Christmas time. And yet here we are. Hey, look at that. They've called a ceasefire for Christmas Day. We're going to have a game of bowls with the Amy's security guard. 2 pensioners were arrested in a protest at Rustlings Road. A lot of people arrested were in their 70s, that were probably sat in their branches in the first place going, what did I come up here for? And then the police did the most magical thing. They arrested a magician reading poems, who you all know Benoit. So, Benoit, what was the poem?
Oh, hello, Mark. Yeah, something like, his name is Bob. He has the name for the job. Yeah, something like that.
And is that because Bob was one of the security guards?
Well, it looked like it could be called Bob, but it was called Eddie. And
I think it's marvellous that you live in a place where all the protesters know the security guards now.
Well, you know, we had some intelligence.
So were you up the tree, Benoit?
Only once up a tree when I got arrested. They didn't like it very much.
So were you quite glad that you were arrested, thinking, oh, thank God I can get...
Well, I knew I was going to get arrested, so I had the time to prepare, and it was my mom's birthday as well, so I had to make everyone sing happy birthday as well for my mom, because otherwise I wouldn't have time. I'd be in the cell for 8 or 9 hours and stuff.
As you're a magician, Benoit, when they put handcuffs on you, could you get straight out of them?
Well, I'm not allowed to admit that. But yes, there's been quite a few funny moments.
Oh, go on then.
Well, they managed to take me off the street when I got arrested because I was like barred from entering any streets where Amy was carrying out work. So I had to take a unicorn mask to like be discreet. But yeah, I know that sounds, yeah. But they didn't recognize me. Just in case I see an Amy truck, just, oh, quick, put the unicorn mask. Safe. No, but
When they said, "Who are you?" in the unicorn mask, did you say, "I am not going to tell you my name"? And are you legal now? We're not going to get raided in here now.
well, I never really know whether I'm legal or not.
Thank you so much, the wonderful Danielle. I'll speak to Nicole. Nicole, do you know the figures here? How many trees were saved in the end when the councils...
12,000, yeah.
They stopped 12,000 short of the number of trees they were going to cut down. In the end, the Forestry Commission launched a criminal investigation into the council for felling without a felling licence, and the campaigners met with the council, and the programme of tree cutting was stopped. So in the end, the council was defeated, disconsolate, debilitated. Demeaned and disgraced. So you changed the world, Nether Edge, though someone did tell me in Healy they were even more militant. Not that it's a competition. And even now the episode rumbles on. Someone sent me a message saying Nether Edge has some of the worst roads in the city because the tree protesters live there and the council is punishing them by refusing to fix the potholes. But your travails didn't stop when the tree battle ended. According to the short history, in 2019, there were attacks on walkers in Brincliffe Edge Woods by a crow that was given the name Russell. Anywhere else you'd think that was just a bad-tempered, angry crow, but here you'd have to think, could Sheffield Council have trained that crow? But the tree war wasn't the only time that Nether Edge was at the centre of global news, because in 1998 there was a BBC Two show called Gardening Neighbours set in Nether Edge, and it was about the people of the neighbourhood redesigning the gardens of the area. How lovely. Except this is Nether Edge, and so an account of one programme from someone on the crew who worked on it said, the first couple had decided to plant their placenta under a special tree. Despite warnings, the intense nutrients would fry the poor roots. Oh, for God's sake! If the council had left the trees alone, you'd have destroyed them all yourselves with your bloody placentas, you mad hippies. And this is why you're so well balanced by the crazy, unexpected shops down Abbeydale Road. Shops like the Rum Keg, run by my new best friend, Junior. Junior, lovely to have you with us. Why a rum shop in Sheffield?
Sheffield is a place that I live and love, and I wouldn't want to live anywhere else in the UK.
But a lot of people think that, but they don't put a rum shop there.
Well, I've got a deep love for rum.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I love it. Right. And you make your own rum there as well.
I've got a distiller in Bridlington who I commissioned to distill some rum for myself because of the demand of Nether Edge.
And is that because, like, Bridlington, is that much like Trinidad in that it's the perfect place for growing Demerara sugar and molasses and all that?
Well, it's the only distillery I could find close to the beach. I've got good customers. They'll buy Rogers honey and then they'll just come in and offer you whatever is selling at their market.
What, the customers?
The customers will offer me gifts and.
I've been in Junior's shop, rum shop twice, and both times I met the most brilliant people. The first night I met a lovely bloke and he bought me a drink, and then he said, "All these shops along here, they're all fronts, you know." I wasn't going to argue. And then yesterday, your mate came in. It was brilliant. Someone, I think Junior said to him, your car might get a parking ticket out there. And he ranted for 20 minutes about how he's never paid a parking ticket in his life. He parks his car wherever he wants. What's the point of paying road tax? And why is that a bus lane? There's no buses anyway, and I park exactly where I want. I take no notice of authorities when it comes to parking tickets. And then the most perfect thing happened because a parking warden came. And he rushed out and moved the car. Right. But you're used to it, Junior. It's always, I reckon it's always entertaining in the rum keg.
It is. Every day is different. Somebody could come in and start crying, and I'm thinking, I'm not a hugger, so what do I do? You know? I'm like, do you want a rum?
So then you part like rum shop and part therapy?
Yeah, yes. I would say so, yes. You don't need money to come to rum keg.
Oh, no, it's a brilliant place. Thanks so much, Junior, for looking after us. So I just want to speak to Nicole one more time. So, Nicole, your place in the community is that you run a particular establishment.
We've got a little cafe on Abbeydale Road called Cole's Corner.
And Cole's Corner, Cafe 9, the Rum Keg, these are little hearts of the community, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. It does feel a bit like living in a village.
You're a dangerous enemy, Nether Edge, because as well as a tendency for extreme violence, you're very clever. The 2023 Mastermind winner was a man called Stuart Field, who was part of a quiz team in the Union pub. And more annoying than that, someone told me that his team usually doesn't win. So you don't even send your best players to Mastermind, and they still win. So you're a lovely community, but you're a bit up yourselves, aren't you? You are a classic mix of modern Britain, Nether Edge, created so capitalists could live away from the effects of their capitalism, are now full of cafes with posters complaining about capitalism and people who climb up trees to stop capitalists with chainsaws. You love it when the baristas know your name, but when the nice people from Amy's security company find out your name, then you get all upset. You're a town of contradictions. Your bowls club has a history of rifle practice. Your trees have QR codes. You're an inner city that insists it's a village. There should be a quirky English film made about you with Bill Nye organising tree protests with Julie Walters as Alison and Daniel Craig as Benoit. That'll be a huge hit across America. So I shall leave you, Nether Edge, with this little-known Arctic Monkeys song written specially by Alex Turner in honour of your magical place. She calls herself Moonchild, but she looks like a Deborah. There's a Frenchman up a tree shouting abracadabra. There's an Armalite rifle that's nestling in your litter, and Cafe Number 9 sells placenta-flavoured bitter. I'm on a brunch with a glorious vista. Hello, Dave, says the local barista. And I'm never, never, never coming down till you accept you're not a village, you're a town.
Mark Steele's In Town was written and performed by Mark Steele.
With additional material from Pete Sinclair.